So next time you ask an AI to, write an email or summarize a PDF, I want you to really think about the physical water it just took to cool the server processing that exact request.
Yeah, that's something we usually completely ignore.
Right. We have this deeply ingrained assumption that the digital world is weightless. I mean, we literally call it the cloud.
As if it's just pure thought floating around, yeah.
Exactly, like it's completely detached from the dirt and the heat of the real world. But today's data is just slamming headfirst into physical reality.
Well, the collision is honestly unavoidable at this point. I mean, the sheer scale of the infrastructure required to support our digital habits it's literally rewriting physical geography.
It really is. So welcome in, everyone. Today we are opening up a pretty sprawling stack of source material from the Daily Tech Reader's Nightly News for August 10th, 2026.
It is a huge data dump today.
Massive. It covers everything from Washington politics to Middle East tensions, AI breakthroughs, and even some blockbuster movies. And our mission for you today is to filter out the noise.
Right, because at first glance, none of this seems connected.
Exactly. We're going to look at these seemingly disconnected global events and show you the underlying currents shaping our world right now.
And, if you look at the board, as it is currently set today, the defining characteristic is friction.
Friction.
Wow. We are watching this unstoppable digital momentum run directly into, immovable physical and political boundaries.
Okay, so let's unpack this momentum first, because the absolute dominant force in our sources today is the AI gold rush.
Always is lately.
Right. So we just saw Meta release Muse Glimmer, and the big headline is that it's a 30 billion parameter open-weight AI agent, and it's released under an Apache 2.0 license.
Which is a huge deal. Mark Zuckerberg even published a whole manifesto defending open models.
Yeah, but let's pause there for a second, because I keep hearing this term open weight. But if I'm not a software engineer, what does that actually mean for me mechanically? How is that different from just being open source?
Well, okay, think of open source as giving someone the recipe to bake a cake. So, they can see all the ingredients in the instructions, but open weight is like giving someone the actual fully baked cake that cost millions of dollars and thousands of hours to produce.
Oh, wow. Okay. That makes sense.
Right. So in AI, the weights are the mathematical parameters, the actual learned patterns and connections the AI formed after it processed mountains of data. So Meta isn't just sharing the code. They are handing over the fully trained brain.
And what about the 30 billion parameter part? What does that mean?
So parameter is basically a connection in the artificial brain. And 30 billion is kind of the magic number right now.
Why is that?
Because it's large enough to allow the AI to perform complex, multi-step reasoning, like acting as an autonomous agent that can, schedule your life or write complex code.
Right.
But it's small enough to actually fit on a high-end consumer GPU.
Okay, so to put this in everyday terms for you guys listening, relying on a massive corporate cloud AI is essentially like using public transit.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right, you have to wait for your connection, you're on their schedule, and if their network goes down, you are entirely stuck.
Exactly.
But downloading a 30 billion parameter open weight model to your own local Mac or PC is like suddenly owning an off-road vehicle.
Yeah, you literally have the engine in your driveway.
Right, and you can take it wherever you want, completely off the grid. But, and here's the rub, building all those engines requires an astronomical amount of raw material.
Which is driving a massive redistribution of wealth right now.
For sure.
I mean, take a look at TSMC. They're the company that actually manufactures the physical silicon chips these models run on.
The hardware guys.
Right. They just reported their July revenue jumped 45%.
Wow.
Yeah, to $14.5 billion.
Right.
Meanwhile, Intel is just scrambling to catch up. They're raising $15 billion specifically to fund their AI infrastructure build-out.
Though, interestingly, Intel's shares dipped 3% on that news, right? Because investors were worried about stock dilution.
Exactly. The market got a little spooked.
And, that wealth isn't just moving through the stock market, it's reshaping actual cities. The data shows the influx of AI compensation has pushed San Francisco's average asking rent to $3,728 a month.
That is insane.
It is. That officially surpasses New York City, by the way.
Wow. And then look at Palmer Luckey's Bank, the tech-focused digital bank that popped up after the Silicon Valley Bank collapse.
Oh, yeah, they're doing huge numbers.
They are nearing a $1.5 billion raise at an $8 billion valuation. I mean, their deposits have quadrupled since just March, hitting $4 billion.
So the capital is just flowing freely.
It is. But this is exactly where the off-road vehicle hits the physical wall we were talking about.
Right, the friction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you can print money and you can write code, but you cannot download a power plant.
No, you cannot.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott just declared a moratorium on new data center electrical grid connections, which
Which is huge.
it's massive. That single policy move risks derailing 20% of the entire U.S. data center development pipeline.
Let's get into the mechanics of that wall for a second. Because why is a data center so different from, say, building a new office building or a shopping mall?
It comes down to density and physics, really. A hyperscale AI data center consists of tens of thousands of specialized servers packed into racks.
And they run hot.
Incredibly hot. When those processors run complex AI models, they generate intense concentrated heat. So to prevent the silicon from literally melting, you have to pump massive amounts of chilled water and industrial air conditioning through the facility 24/7.
So you aren't just drawing electricity for the computers themselves?
No, not at all. You are drawing gargantuan amounts of electricity for the cooling systems, which requires thicker copper wiring and massive local substations.
Which completely explains the fierce bipartisan pushback we're seeing in the sources today. I mean, from red states like Texas and Florida to blue states, local neighborhood associations and city councils are just fighting these developments tooth and nail over noise pollution, water drain, and electricity spikes.
And Mother Nature is really exposing the fragility of this system right now.
Yeah, the extreme weather reports in today's stack are just brutal. The Southwest, specifically Phoenix and Yuma, are under extreme heat warnings with dangerous afternoon highs.
And Florida is facing heat advisories across Palm Beach and the Treasure Coast.
Yep. And up in eastern Washington, the Spokane area wildfires are still forcing active evacuations.
It's bad everywhere.
It is. And when you have record heat, the public grid is already stretched to the absolute breaking point just by residents trying to run their home AC units.
Right. So dropping a hyperscale AI data center into a neighborhood under a heat warning, I mean, that is just a recipe for a catastrophic blackout.
Yeah, the physical infrastructure simply lacks the bandwidth, and those vulnerabilities are extending way beyond the physical grid into the financial and security sectors, too.
Oh, absolutely. Moody's issued a stark warning on Monday about this.
What did they say?
They pointed out that banks have become so heavily dependent on just a handful of AI and cloud providers that it is no longer just an IT concern.
It's bigger than that.
It is a systemic financial stability risk. If one of those central cloud providers goes down, the banking system just halts.
Which brings up a massive question for me, honestly, and maybe some serious pushback against the reckless optimism in the tech sector.
Let's hear it.
Okay. If we are rushing to build these incredibly powerful AI agents, how is it possible that OpenAI's models reportedly launched a hacking spree that went completely undetected by their own security? Are we building the engine but, forgetting to install the brakes?
It's a very valid concern. The report from the Washington Post highlights a severe blind spot.
Yeah.
OpenAI failed to detect that its models were being utilized for an automated hacking campaign. And the concerning part is the pattern here.
It's not an isolated incident.
No, this is the third major AI agent security disclosure in just weeks, following similar breaches at Anthropic and Hugging Face.
Wow.
The digital borders are proving incredibly porous, which is why there's mounting pressure for mandatory incident reporting across the industry.
So if we look at the geopolitical and national board purely as a system of stress points, right? Stripping away any partisan noise and just observing the raw data from the sources.
Yeah, just the facts.
We see a fascinating mirror image. The friction causing the tech infrastructure to buckle is exactly the same kind of friction causing our global political systems to buckle.
How so?
Well, the tech sector desperately wants open borders and free-flowing data, but the physical world is aggressively slamming its doors shut.
That is a great way to put it. And the ultimate example of that friction is playing out in the Middle East energy markets right now.
Oh, for sure.
Iran just promoted a hardline Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commander to its top security body.
Which is a big shift.
Huge. And this single personnel change immediately rattled the ongoing talks in Oman regarding the Strait of Hormuz, which, as we know, is a critical choke point for global energy.
Right. Let's trace the mechanics of that ripple effect for the listener, because it hits your wallet incredibly fast.
Yeah, it really does.
So Iran promotes a hardline commander. That signals potential military friction in the Strait of Hormuz. And because roughly 20% of the world's oil passes through that strait, the market price is in the risk of supply disruption.
And boom, prices go up.
Exactly. As a direct result, crude oil rebounded toward $82 a barrel on Monday. And because higher energy costs squeeze corporate profits, the S&P 500 slipped, reversing the gains we saw last week.
Right, especially after that shockingly bad July jobs report where we lost 23,000 jobs.
Yeah. It just demonstrates how tightly wound the global system is. A military promotion in Tehran dictates the value of an American retirement account within 48 hours.
It's all connected. And those borders are hardening everywhere. I mean, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu publicly rejected the 15-point Gaza peace plan proposed by former President Trump.
Right, and just as a reminder, we are strictly reporting the facts from the source material here, remaining perfectly impartial. We aren't endorsing any viewpoints.
Absolutely. The sources state Netanyahu specifically demanded that Hamas disarm up front before any phased implementation begins.
Meanwhile, Houthi forces launched strikes on a Saudi Aramco refinery, creating even more energy market anxiety.
Yeah, the hits keep coming.
A Ukrainian drone strike killed at least 13 people deep inside Russia. And over in South America, Colombia officially swung sharply to the right, inaugurating President Abelardo de la Espriella, replacing leftist Gustavo Petro.
The theme across all these sources is nations literally pulling up their drawbridges and securing their perimeters.
Defensive postures everywhere.
Exactly. And we see that same defensive posture reflected in the domestic U.S. political data today.
Right. Take the confirmation of Todd Blanche as the permanent attorney general. He was confirmed by the narrowest possible margin, 50 to 49.
Barely made it.
Barely. With Senators Murkowski and Collins breaking ranks to vote against him. And again, strictly reporting the data here, a confirmation that tight means the system is barely functioning. It's bogged down by intense friction.
And he inherits a massively backlogged system on day one.
Oh yeah, the Fauci contempt referral, the Epstein file disclosures, and the controversy over his plan to purge immigration judges he deems too slow.
The structural friction is visible in the courts and the executive branch as well.
Definitely.
A federal judge literally blocked the White House from building a new ballroom, ruling they cannot proceed without congressional approval.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. And on the immigration front, the borders are hardening through policy. The Department of Homeland Security is proposing the elimination of grace periods for foreign workers whose employment ends.
Right. And federal courts have terminated temporary protected status for individuals from South Sudan and Burma. Plus, there are widespread reports of immigration agents detaining family members of active duty American service members. It's intense. And underlying all this national stress, the sources also note reports that President Biden's cancer is progressing.
Yeah. It's a lot of heavy news. And when you lay out all of these geopolitical and national events, the contrast with the tech sector just becomes glaring.
It really does.
Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Warsh is actively pushing for AI-assisted real-time economic analysis to monitor global data before the September rate decision.
Because capital and algorithms demand an open, frictionless globe to operate efficiently.
Exactly. But human politics are heavily bordered, fiercely protective, and highly localized.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and feeling a bit overwhelmed, wondering why we are dragging you through power grid failures, AI hacking, and Middle East oil anxiety, stick with us.
Because it does pivot.
It does. Because when you look at the third section of our source material today, you see how human beings actually respond to massive systemic stress.
Which is fascinating.
It is. When the macro world, like the power grid, the international borders, the economy, feels entirely out of our control, human beings double down on what they can control. We pivot inward.
Right. Here, we fiercely optimize our physical biology and our shared communal culture.
It is a profound behavioral shift. We are trying to build physical and psychological resilience to withstand all this macro friction.
So let's start with the biological optimization, because the health breakthroughs here are staggering.
They really are.
The big headline is eleniglipron. This is an experimental, once-daily, oral GLP-1 pill.
Okay, so to understand why this is a massive leap forward, we have to look at the mechanism, right?
Yeah.
So GLP-1 is a naturally occurring hormone that essentially tells your brain that you are full, and it regulates blood sugar. The problem has always been that hormones are incredibly fragile.
Right. If you swallow them, your stomach acid just destroys them before they can even enter your bloodstream.
Exactly. That is why drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy have to be injected.
So the breakthrough here isn't just weight loss, it's the chemical engineering.
Precisely. They engineered a molecule robust enough to survive the human digestive tract while still successfully mimicking the hormone.
That's wild.
In a 36-week trial, this daily pill produced up to 12.1% body weight loss, completely eliminating the need for needles.
Which is going to change everything.
Mm.
We're also gaining unprecedented visibility into our genetic baselines, too.
Oh, right, the heart study.
Yeah. A new 20,000-person study revealed that roughly 1 in 5 people carry a hidden genetic heart risk related to high inherited LP-little cholesterol levels.
Wait, can you explain the mechanics of LP-little for us? Because we all hear about good and bad cholesterol, but this seems different.
It is very different. So think of standard LDL cholesterol like microscopic sand floating in your bloodstream.
Okay.
If there's too much, it can build up. But LP-little is more like sand covered in Velcro.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is highly adhesive and significantly more likely to stick to the walls of your arteries, which severely elevates the risk of stroke and cardiovascular death.
That's terrifying, but also good to know.
Right, because identifying this genetic trait early allows for highly targeted, personalized intervention before a major event even happens.
And the preventative behavioral science in today's stack is just as fascinating. Like, researchers have pinpointed the literal sweet spot for longevity regarding strength training.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah, we all know lifting weights is good for you, but the data shows that hitting exactly 90 to 120 minutes of weekly strength training cuts your risk of early death by 13%.
And pushing way past that doesn't necessarily grant extra longevity benefits.
Right. But hitting that 2-hour weekly window acts as this incredible biological shield.
And then you add to that the dietary data. A new trial linked drinking just 1 daily glass of fruit juice to meaningfully lower depression scores.
It's all about these micro-optimizations.
There's an incredible symmetry here. As corporations spend billions trying to optimize artificial neural networks in their data centers, ordinary people are utilizing science to biologically optimize the human machine.
Speaking of human history, I have to mention one fun fact from the science stack before we move on.
Oh, the dogs.
Yes, a new study traced the mutual evolution of dogs and humans back roughly 15,000 years.
That's amazing.
It turns out we have been biologically co-evolving as a team for a very, very long time.
Which really highlights a crucial aspect of resilience, companionship, and shared experience.
Yeah.
Psychological resilience isn't just about diet and genetics. It requires communal connection, which is exactly why the sports and entertainment numbers in our sources are currently exploding.
Yes, the culture is bouncing back hard. If you want proof that people are desperate for shared physical reality, just look at the sports metrics.
They're huge.
NFL training camps are completely packed. You've got the Cowboys and Rams holding massive joint practices, Teddy Bridgewater stepping away for his second career retirement, and incredible hype building around Carolina Panthers rookie Carson Beck after his Hall of Fame game debut.
And the MLB is seeing similar engagement. You have a 13-game Monday slate featuring a surging Boston Red Sox team on a 5-game road win streak.
Right.
And the Mets battling the Braves on primetime television.
Though the Cincinnati Reds unfortunately lost their ace, Hunter Green, for the season to UCL surgery.
Oh, right. A devastating tear of the elbow ligament that takes over a year of rehab.
Yeah, that's tough.
Meanwhile, the Brewers have reclaimed the #1 spot in the power rankings as the Dodgers, Mariners, and Guardians all slide.
Even the WNBA is operating on highly optimized strategic levels. Teams like the Chicago Sky and Seattle Storm are carefully managing their star players minutes ahead of the upcoming FIBA Women's World Cup.
Yeah, they're treating their players' biology like premium assets, conserving energy for the global stage.
Exactly. And that desire to gather, to witness something collectively is most obvious at the movie theater right now.
Oh, absolutely. The 2026 summer box office just crossed the $4 billion milestone.
Which is huge.
It officially matches the historic 2023 Barbenheimer summer. And the industry is tracking toward a $10 billion year for the first time since before the pandemic.
Incredible.
Spider-Man. Yeah. Brand New Day just pulled in a 150 million second weekend and is tracking toward a $1 billion global finish.
And right alongside it, Christopher Nolan's original film, The Odyssey, just surpassed The Dark Knight Rises to become his second highest domestic earner ever.
Let's look at the psychology behind those numbers for a second, because we just spent the first part of this deep dive talking about Muse Glimmer, an open-weight AI agent that can sit on your laptop and theoretically generate bespoke, hyper-personalized content just for you.
Right.
But human beings don't want to sit alone in a room consuming algorithmic isolation. We crave the collective experience.
We want to sit in a dark theater with 300 strangers breathing the same air, reacting to the same visual spectacle on a massive screen.
Even the specialty box office proves this. A24 just posted one of the year's top limited openings with their Anthony Bourdain biopic, Tony.
People are definitely seeking out deeply human, deeply flawed narratives.
Although the business of creating those narratives is still fraught with friction.
Yeah, the sources note that the massive Paramount-Warner Bros. Discovery antitrust trial is formally set for March 2027, with daily penalty fees just continuing to pile up.
But you are absolutely right about the macro trend here. Art and sports have become essential psychological infrastructure.
They really have. So let's synthesize all of this as we look ahead, because the rest of this week is packed with massive systemic events.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy week.
Wednesday, August 12th is shaping up to be a historic day across multiple fronts. First, before the financial markets even open, we get the critical July CPI print.
Right, and for those tracking the economy, the Consumer Price Index is essentially the inflation thermometer.
Yeah.
It measures the average change in prices paid by urban consumers for a basket of goods.
Yeah.
If that number comes in lower than expected, it validates the market's expectation that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates in September.
But if it comes in hot, it could derail the entire market rally.
Exactly.
And on that exact same day, Google is hosting its major Made by Google event in New York to unveil the Pixel 11 line.
Which is expected to embed localized AI deeper into the actual hardware than ever before.
And to top it all off, the universe decided to coordinate a celestial event on the same Wednesday.
Natural.
A total solar eclipse will sweep across Spain, which the European Space Agency will be live streaming globally from the Javalomber Observatory.
Economics, cutting-edge consumer hardware, and a planetary alignment, all colliding within a 24-hour window.
It is an incredible convergence, but out of everything in this towering stack of sources, there's one final detail that I think completely reframes everything we've talked about today.
What's that?
It was tucked away in the aerospace news. NASA engineers just executed a Big Bang power conservation maneuver to extend the operational life of the Voyager 2 spacecraft.
Oh, wow. To really understand the gravity of that, Voyager 2 was launched in 1977.
Right.
It has been flying through the freezing vacuum of space for nearly 50 years. It is currently billions of miles away, traveling through interstellar space.
And its power supply is slowly dying.
But NASA engineers on Earth calculated a way to safely reroute the fading wattage, keeping its scientific instruments alive to transmit data just a little bit longer.
Okay, now hold on. If we connect that to what we discussed in our first segment, think about Meta's Muse Glimmer. A 30 billion parameter AI agent that can run locally without any need for a cloud connection or an internet tether.
The implications are profound.
Right.
Because right now we are bottlenecks because our AI is tethered to massive overheating data centers draining our local water supplies.
Yes.
But what happens when you combine these technologies?
Exactly. If an open-weight, autonomous reasoning AI agent were loaded onto a deep space probe like Voyager today, what would our digital descendants look like 50 years from now? That is a staggering thought to leave on. Imagine a localized intelligence learning, reasoning, and adapting to the unknown on its own, out past the edge of the solar system.
Yeah.
Long after we have either solved our earthly power grid problems or, succumbed to our geopolitical squabbles, that probe would still be out there in the dark, thinking.
It is the ultimate escape from the physical friction we are experiencing today.
Well, on that note, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. The data dump is heavy, but when you look past the noise and understand the mechanics of how these systems actually interact, the picture it paints is absolutely incredible.
Keep questioning the world around you.
Absolutely. Look for the underlying currents, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.